Hey everyone, hey everyone, hey everyone. Anthony Fantano here, you know who it is. Talking about one of my least favorite things in the music journalism industry, and that is Vendetta-based journalism. A couple days ago, or last week really, because it's the weekend now, I came out with this stink piece video where I talked about the media's obsession with Tyler, the Creator's sexuality, or what he reveals to be his sexuality on his latest record, Scumfuck Flower Boy. Now, I reacted to an article on High Snobiety that was kind of dismissive of his sexuality and was talking less about him as a person and less about him as an individual and more about him as, oh, how are we going to deal with this guy as a part of queer culture now? How are we going to deal with this guy? What are we going to do with him? He's out of the closet. We don't know what to do with him. I thought this was going to be the worst of the worst of the worst, and that I wouldn't have to say anything about this any further than this. But then just a few days later comes, Jesus Christ, this review of Flower Boy on Consequence of Sound. And this is not to pick on Consequence of Sound, because this issue is much larger than their site, because this is not the first time an article that had a clear agenda behind it was put up on a music site, whether it be a review or an interview or a blurb or whatever, okay, or a think piece, what have you. So this is greater than Consequence of Sound. This is greater than the writer of this article. This is greater than this review. So, don't think, again, that this has anything to do specifically with this review, okay? This is an issue that is kind of rampant. There are a handful of very bad examples of this that crop up on major music websites every year, okay? Let's just get that out of the way. But this review over here, as far as the issues that I had with that High Snobiety article, they're so much more egregious over here, with the writer pretty much calling Tyler talking about his sexuality or sort of revealing his sexuality on this album as like a trick. He's just playing us. He's just trolling us, which is kind of a weird perspective for somebody in the music industry, the music journalism industry, to have, because when Odd Future and Tyler, the Creator, were at their relevancy peak, it's not like the music media needed much incentive to talk about Tyler, the Creator. Pretty much anything that he or anyone in Odd Future did or tweeted or got caught doing, anything that they could turn into a stupid controversy, they did it ASAP. Because it wasn't Tyler trolling them to incentivize them to write articles about him. It was the traffic. It was the money. You wrote about Tyler, the Creator, for money and attention, and now we're trying to flip the narrative saying, well, he just trolled us into writing about him the whole time. We didn't even know what we were doing. He was just trolling us this whole time. But anyway, so this article over here, this review, didn't so much seem like a review as much as it was just kind of this personal attack and line of questioning against Tyler, the Creator, to sort of delegitimize him talking about his sexuality on this album, talking about himself on this album, and just seemed way too personal and didn't really go into many details about the music itself or what he was saying, any lyrical highlights or lowlights. Much of the album's shortcomings sort of came in the shape of, in this review, of, it's boring, oh, it's a flyover song, no. When in the past, I mean, it's not like Tyler's beyond critique. I've torn apart this man's past stuff. Goblin, I tore apart. Cherry Bomb, I tore apart. I hate that album. Wolf is okay, and I thought Bastard was all right as a starter project, though a lot of his edgiest lyrics turn up on that record. But that being said, I don't think that Tyler is beyond critique as an artist or a person. But when I'm doing a review, that review is about the album. I mean, sure, that review can be about things about the person if that person brings up personal things, but maybe, the way that they're bringing them up is sort of ineffective or doesn't quite make sense, or there's no way to relate to what they're saying, or it doesn't quite make sense. And it just seemed like this writer wasn't really connecting the dots and was just making this more of like a trial against Tyler, the Creator, sort of claiming that his sexuality is what it is on this new record. So now, come to find out that this same writer had written an older review for Goblin which, was entirely based around what the writer found to be so offensive about Tyler's statements in his past records, and ended off with this ask of a groupie, if they find themselves to be in a situation in a room with Tyler, the Creator, can they please bite his penis off? And you can call me Collect from Prison, and I will personally find a way to bail you out. I'll get a fundraiser going. I doubt I'll be alone. So, of course, this is a horrible thing to say. Just about as horrible as anything Tyler said on any of his records. And yet I see her on Twitter over here asking for forgiveness for that, saying, oh, of course I didn't really mean that. Of course I didn't really mean that. But of course, you want to act like Tyler 100% meant and is advocating for every single stupid thing that he said on any of his records. It seems like kind of hypocritical, And it seems like, again, with this having been in your canon over here, that you went into this new review with an agenda, with a vendetta, and it really kind of stinks. It really kind of reeks. It just seems like you're guilty of what Tyler, the Creator, did, which, I guess that he fired the first shot, so to say. But two wrongs don't really make a right, honestly. So then she writes this long diatribe and throws it up on Twitter. Basically, and I wish I could show you this, but she has blocked me on Twitter despite the fact that I've never said anything to this person. All I've done was post up this paragraph over here, which even in the context of the rest of the review, which you can find it on my Twitter, I've posted it over there. Even in the context of the rest of the review, does not look good. It's not a good look. Looks really ugly. She put up this long diatribe essentially saying that she feels like Tyler is just faking being queer, and that he's essentially run out of violent things to do to queer people, as if he's ever punched or killed or maimed or physically attacked any queer people. To my knowledge, he hasn't. To my knowledge, he hasn't made a habit of just violently attacking members of the queer community on the street. But according to her, he's run out of violent things to do to queer people, so now he has to pretend to be one in order to get attention and continue to torture them, which she sort of sees as Tyler's agenda or something. And she says, basically people looking at this new Tyler album saying, oh, this is great, good for him coming out of the closet, so on and so forth. She says, this is like if Casey Anthony released a children's album and everyone was like, thank you for this gift. Yes, it's exactly like that. It's exactly like that. Listen, if you're that delusional, you can't not go into a review like this and not have an agenda and not have a vendetta. And honestly, this brings me to my final point and what I really wanted to state in this video. Listen, music writers across the board, not just this music writer, all music writers across the board, music is not your fucking soapbox to push your ideology. It's not, okay? And listen, this comes from a person who has a lot of strong opinions and a lot of strong views on a lot of things that don't come up in my reviews. I'm not talking about the military industrial complex in every review. I'm not talking about the drug war in every review. I'm not talking about, and I could every single time I hear a rapper or hear an artist singing or making a song about drugs. I honestly fucking could. I'm not talking about a living wage. I'm not talking about the 7 interventions that we have going on. Our disgusting foreign policy, our attitude, our forgiving attitude toward torture. Our country engaging in torture. Listen, the list goes on. Veganism, Jesus Christ. Listen, the list goes on and on and on. But, and if I state those opinions, they're usually stated in, a one-off sort of situation, or they're stated so that people sort of know where my bias and my point of view is coming from. I don't sort of let it hang there in the background and inform everything that I say and just sort of paint my opinion of another person or another artist or an album or what have you. There are artists that I follow who say dumb shit all the time. There are artists whose music I enjoy, but whenever I hear them talk or open their mouths, I think they sound stupid. But the thing is, it's not really my business, and it's not really the point of a review to put these artists on trial for that, okay? And I don't think it's yours either. If you're here only to push an agenda, and if you're here only to push an ideology, and if you're here only to tear down the artist as a person, not really for what they created, but who you feel like they are or what you think their actions are, then what the hell are you doing here? You know, you just shit talk, just become another Twitter shit talker and just do that. You know, if you're here to review music, then talk about the music, celebrate the art, celebrate the artistry, or tear it down for being mediocre or shitty. That's fine, as long as it's about the music. You know, because honestly, it's getting to a point with articles like this where it's not about the music and it's more about, you know, you're reviewing the human being, which, you know, really, there's probably a demand for that somewhere. Start a website where you're just rating and reviewing artists as people. To me, Tyler, he's famous, but he's just another person doing another job. He's just another person doing for a living a thing that he excels at. And for me, questioning his sexuality, it's not really in the cards. You know, you have to kind of trust people in this way, because honestly, you don't really have the answers and you don't really have the proof that Tyler is or isn't what he says he is. To be completely honest, you have to kind of take him at his word. Just in the same way that you need to take an artist on their word when they sing about a myriad of other things. You know, unless you have some kind of evidence or you smell something fishy and, you know, it's honestly pointing in a really clear direction. I get it. I understand maybe sort of putting those questions out there, but you didn't present those questions and you didn't ask the audience to sort of ponder that either. You sort of went into this review asserting that and assuming that, and then you sort of came to admit it later on Twitter that you went into this review thinking, well, he's just really doing this to torture queer people because it's the last violent thing he has left to do to them. Again, music is not your soapbox. If that's how you're treating it, what are you doing here? What's the point? Go become an activist. Go get politically involved. If it's your job, if you feel it's your job and it's your passion to go push a political ideology, become an activist. Go do that, because that's what an activist would do. You know, don't become a music journalist to become an activist or to make people believe in X, Y, or Z, just in the same way that you wouldn't become, I don't know, a short order cook to become an activist. It's stupid, okay? It's like becoming a taxi driver to become an engineer. You know, do the thing that you really want to do. You know, don't do this thing that you really don't care about doing just so that you can, you know, get your rocks off and, you know, sort of let some steam off in relation to this other thing that you actually care about. So, you know, just from here on out, just make it about the music, you know, and when reviewers and reviews don't make it about the music, I don't know, just ignore it. Ignore them. Just don't care. Because honestly, they didn't care to talk about the music, so they don't deserve your attention. They don't deserve your views. They don't deserve your interest because they're not talking about the music. I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Again, next to my head over here is my stink piece video about Tyler and that I mentioned earlier, and I will catch you guys in another video. You're the best. Sorry that this went on so long, but you know, I feel like it's kind of a big topic. I feel like it's a big issue. I feel like it's a persistent bug, and you know, hopefully it's I don't know, less of a problem in the future. Buh.